that. It is just, I think this goes beyond just that. That is the audience. I mean, I can admit, I think I'm too old to have remembered the games that I played growing up. Though my lack of hair kind of just keeps it a well hidden secret. But I think this goes beyond just gaming and just it's kind of action because I was talking earlier. I think it has exactly the nuance of good versus evil, and just the lenses of the two extremes, right? And then you have this interesting middle space where everybody's trying to gravitate to, and kind of that first episode kind of sets it up really well. So thank you for stopping over, and I can't wait to see what the rest of the world has to say as you make these stops over. Ella, to you. So Lucy has this, she has this two worlds that she kind of goes from. She goes from the wall and she goes into this, this post-apocalyptic wasteland, right? So I'm curious, how did you approach the character? Because it kind of just, I'm sure it had to be nuanced in its own unique way when you see Lucy in the vault, and then you see this post-apocalyptic, I knew I was going to get that wrong, wasteland.
You know.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, there you go. So back to the question. So how did you approach the character and the journey in going from this to that?
This one was really fun because I got to start sort of as innocent and good and clean as really as possible. She's obviously born and raised in the vault with vault values, and she truly thinks she's got everything figured out, and she knows exactly what she's going to do with her life. And then in an instant, her entire worldview is challenged, and the whole thing just starts to crumble. It starts to fall away. And I find that fascinating. What do you do when everything you have ever believed in is ripped out from underneath you? Because a lot of people can break from that. A lot of people change, and a lot of people survive. Those are all choices, right? Depending on who you are. And I think for fear of spoiling it, you put someone like that in Fallout on the wastelands, a lot of chaos is gonna happen. That's a lot.
Well, was there anything from her life in the vault that helps her, the character of Lucy, as she gets into this wasteland, or is it just like, as you said, everything just crumbles and you kind of having to rebuild it from scratch?
I think sometimes you don't know what you're capable of until you're challenged. A lot of the time, in fact. And yes, Lucy is good and she is innocent, and obviously she's very naive and privileged, but she's also tough and very intelligent and very capable, and she may not realize it, but she's been training for this very moment her entire life, right? And you just have to sort of adapt the skills that you have, which again is something in the game. I don't know if she knows what she's capable of, and I think that's actually what the season is exploring. You think you know who you are, but do you really? I'll leave you with that.
All right, that's intrigue building at its finest. Talking about Adam Morton, right? Maximus. Tell us about it. What was the starting point? I know you touched upon it a little earlier, and how did you see that character?
Boy, did we kill it with this cast, huh? Aaron is an actor that I had not worked with before. Terrific experience doing a little bit of drama, a little bit of comedy, which I'm very lucky came in real handy. But from the beginning, working with him, just a level like Ella of expressiveness. And I think part of this is one of the things, and this is true for any film, for any TV series, you need this. But especially when you're taking something from this interactive environment where you get to make the choices, you need actors who really can convey that sense of bewilderment, confusion, determination, with whom you can kind of sit in that space. There's a moment in the second episode, which I'm sorry we didn't get a chance to show you guys yet, in which Aaron's character has to make a very important choice. And it to me, what I love about this is it really made me think about the moments in the game. And again, you don't have to have seen the game or play the game to enjoy the series. But it did make me feel about that moral ambiguity, that moment in any of these games or in life where you think, well, I could do what's expedient or I could do what's right. sneak preview, he doesn't necessarily do what's right. But it's just that expressiveness with both Ella and Aaron and Walton and the rest of our fabulous cast, where you really understand why they're making the choices they're making. You see it happen.
How was it working with Aaron?
I have no bad things to say about Aaron. He's just
That's not, you were just already saying bad things.
He is the worst. No, he's the sweetest guy. He's a very, very, very talented, generous actor, and it's just such a treat to be able to work with someone who is fun to, mess around with and try different things and give you feedback. I trust him completely. Good casting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
On that note, let's talk about Cooper, Howard. The ghouls. Tell us about that.
Walton Goggins, what a legend. And I think one of these actors, exactly, you've just seen him in so many amazing roles. And I think if you tallied it up, it's gotta be 50-50 between dramatic, tense, dark, and ridiculous, pant-wettingly funny comedy. And the guy can do both of these things. And so we knew that, we had to have him. We had to have this guy as our guide to the post-apocalyptic wasteland, And his character is unique in that he bridges, as you've seen in the show, he bridges the two worlds. He's our guide to the world beforehand and our guide to the afterworld. And there's been a decided shift in, we talk about where you sit on the moral spectrum. When we meet him, he's a seemingly very decent man. And when we meet him again, he's neither decent nor a man. So the question is what happened is one of the things that Geneva and Graham wanted to tackle with the series. And again, it's one of the things that you can do with fabulously talented cast and in a series that you can't quite do with as much facility in a game. In terms of exploring that world before the war.
Hello. What do you have to say?
It's what he said. I mean, I can only speak to playing opposite him, and he's such a committed actor, and he had a hard job. He had all the prosthetics on, but he's still so expressive, and you can see everything. And there's times where you just look into his eyes, and it's terrifying, truly terrifying. That's also another great thing about working with Jonah is he likes to do a lot of stuff for real. So you very rarely have to act opposite, green screen or a dude in a green leotard. A lot of it is prosthetics or as real as it can possibly be. And I think Walton just embodies that. He really just is the ghoul, and it's scary but fun as an actor.
Talking about attention to detail, not just in the props, but just building a world like this, Jonah. Just the sheer attention to detail, the sets, the effects. Tell us a little about, because you had to just imagine this, that essentially existed just as a game world, as this really expansive world. What was that like?
Well, one of the things I was proudest of was having played through the games. And one of the things that is a hallmark characteristic of the games that's so cool is that you're walking through this vast, blasted landscape. And if you see something, as often as not, you can reach down and pick it up and look at it. If there's a book on a desk, you can open it and read the pages. We had the great experience of having Todd Howard come to our set and sit down at one point and open a book and realize that our fabulously talented art department and props department had written every page, and there was just in case the camera found its way to it. So it was a nice art imitates art moment. But I think it was one of the hallmarks. It was one of the things we knew we had to get right. There's such a loving attention to detail in the games that you had to get that feeling without giving the audience the ability to turn the camera and to move the camera over here to pick up an object. But to give them that feeling, to give them a feeling of tactility in that universe. So again, the answer is that a fantastically talented crew that worked extremely hard to make sure that all the details were present and accounted for.
The post-apocalyptic world, if I'm right, is set in Los Angeles.
That's right.
Why LA?
It was part of the early conversations because with each game, the locale, the city, is both a big reveal. I can tell you where the next one is, but I get in a lot of trouble. It's very exciting. I'm bluffing. I've got to narrow down to 2. That announcement of where the next game is going to be is, it's like a character. It's fully a character in the game, and hopefully fully a character in our series. We started talking with Graham Geneva from the beginning about the American Southwest because that felt it had that blasted landscape. We all live in Los Angeles and know it well. And there's this happy kismet of the very first game being set in Los Angeles. We also liked on a meta level the idea that here you have these Hollywood types trying to adapt a video game. So, part of the games is they are not terribly generous. They are generous with the satire. They are generous with the criticism. So it felt like I'm almost most comfortable criticizing myself. So if we're gonna satirize an American city that's been destroyed, we felt most comfortable starting with home.
It's interesting you talk about building this post-apocalyptic world, and almost there's the amount of effects and everything that goes into it. But at the same time, you need to find that balance between building this really expansive world with just really intimate, character-driven storytelling. And it's incredibly definitive and finite balance. But I can say that having seen the episodes, how did you pull that off? And what was that experience like?
You start with working with an incredibly talented cast.
What was that?
That's
like?
your cue.
Between all the stunts and how the character moves forward, what was that balance like for you?
I think talking about the world building, right? One lends itself to the other. It wouldn't have been the same if it wasn't Fallout. If the writers hadn't perfectly nailed the tone of comedy and drama, if the sets weren't built so beautifully and so truthfully to the game, it's all there. It's either in the page or it's in the game. And that's, we're very lucky. I feel very, very lucky to have come aboard into this project. There's so much to draw inspiration from. I don't know.
I think one of the experiences that we had that kind of sums up the approach we took, because that's part of the games. You have this epic spectacle, these vast worlds that you get to explore and unearth, and then these very human, very up close moments. We were shooting in the Skeleton Coast in Namibia, which one of the things coming out of that lunch with Todd, I was like, okay, well, I don't know what the story's going to be, I don't know what the setting's going to be, but I know where we can shoot. Because we'd seen pictures years beforehand of this abandoned mining town called Kolmanskop on the Skeleton Coast. We went out there with 2 full units, and spent a couple of weeks shooting as much as we could, just gathering up all the beauty of that environment. And we managed to figure out a way. We had heard about a shipwreck further up the coast, in a place where there'd been a package liner, which carried passengers and freight in the early 20th century, had run aground, as many ships do off the Skeleton Coast, and eventually became a sandbar, and then the desert filled in around it. So you have this spectacle of a 100-foot long boat trapped now in the middle of the desert. We heard about it, we'd seen pictures of it, and then we managed, through some ingenuity on the part of our producers, to figure out how to get Ella, myself, and some of our camera team into a couple of helicopters with the ground crew that met us out there. We flew out there, brought a drone, brought a handheld camera with our fantastic A-cam operator, and we were there for 2 shots. It's in the episode you just watched. It's totally real. There's no vis effects at all in that sequence. We got the drone shot of Lucy walking up towards this environment, and then the handheld coverage of her standing, and kind of, honestly, you're a terrific actor, but there was less acting required in that moment because it was such a it's all right there. This lovely shot of her standing on the deck of this ruined boat, taking it in. I think that for us was Fallout. You need the scope of it, and you need that tiny little moment of someone contemplating where all of this is going.
Yeah, you don't have to imagine it, right?
Yeah.
You come out of the vault, the only thing you've ever known, underground, your entire life, you open your eyes and that's the first thing you see. It's so fun. We have the best jobs.
Fantastic. I'm really enjoying this conversation. I could keep picking at it. I'm just worried that I'm going to start talking about, the rest
Other
of the
episodes.
episodes. Yeah.
Oh, boy.
So yeah, just hold me
Got a
back.
security team waiting.
Yeah, just hold me back if I do.
Off stage and keep talking.
But I'm gonna try and get to this. If you had to describe Fallout in just 3 words, we're gonna start with you. Yeah, if you had to describe Fallout in just 3 words, what would that be, Ella?
Certainly not, so I can't steal her words. I was going to say
Yeah,
her words.
exactly.
You can't use the words that she used. So
I would say unexpected, entertaining, and devastating.
3 words. Batshit crazy.
all right, I think that's a good summary, folks. With that, I'm gonna bring this to a close. A round of applause to Jonathan Nolan and Ella Purnell. Thank you so much for taking the time. And Fallout launches on Prime Video on the 11th of April. And thank you for stopping by in India. And wish you the very best for the rest of the tour.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonathan, Ella, and Sushant. Jonathan, I would like to know where the ghoul was buried so I could go put myself there till the 11th of April. It's too far away. I think.